episode 56?
Question mark?
Question mark? I don't remember. I'm pretty sure it's 56.
It is. It's 56.
Okay. All right. Just wanted to make sure. I'm joined by always, well, not always, sometimes. Sometimes the occasional guest, Jason Bent, is here with me today.
Hey, everybody.
Not with us today is Mr. Sedgley, who is out sick with the Rona. It's making its way. It's a full podcast now. We've all got it. We've all had it.
Yes, we are now, we can bond on a deeper level.
Took you guys long enough. I mean, I spearheaded it. I spearheaded the team, but now you guys have come full circle.
Everybody thinks that guys like us, humongous superstars, are just untouchable. Clearly, that's not the case, everybody.
I mean, I always come first, so.
Yeah. Wow. Way to bring it to where Ben won COVID. Like, great job? Question mark?
Yeah. Anyways, Jason, we're in the next month.
We are.
For the giveaway. Do you even know what it is yet?
All right, are you guys ready? The giveaway for the month of October
is a picture of Jason Bent. It's a photo of Jason Bent. It's a desktop photo. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a nude.
Well, can we at least say who it's from?
Yes. We'll be doing a giveaway with TSO products. I just don't have all the details yet on exactly what it's going to be and who all can enter in terms of shipping restrictions. But I will have that information soon. I just don't have it yet, everyone.
Okay.
So I'm sorry. You can still sign up.
It's a mystery prize.
It is a mystery prize. How about we're doing a giveaway and it doesn't matter what it is, just go enter.
It's a spooky surprise because it'll be October themed.
I feel like we should do that one month. Make a mystery giveaway and then at the end of it just send some really ridiculous random thing and have them be all upset and think that that's not what it, or that's what it really is, and then we actually send them the real thing.
It'll be a lock of hair from Patrick.
Yeah. Or it could be from Sedge.
Yeah. That's a better one.
A lock of Sedge's hair. When he shaves his head, he'll just give you all the little shavings.
All the little pricklies.
A lock of Patrick's hair. God, that's a horrible gift.
It'll have like a little leather bow, like going around it,
Seeds of weakness. Here you go. Thanks for entering our giveaway.
You're getting a box of weak DNA.
Yeah. Man, we are really prepared. Sedge isn't on the podcast because of COVID tonight. I have no idea what we're doing for the giveaway. What have you been up to, Ben?
We're just winging it, man. We're just winging it.
I like it. This is better.
What have I been up to? Not a whole lot. Just editing videos. I signed up for a YouTube course. I started that last week. It's a 12-week course. So going through that, which is really interesting. It's just about
who can you say?
Video creators. It's
oh, Sean Cannell and
no. Tim Schmoyer.
Oh, okay.
It's I'm really enjoying it so far. It's more of a strategic course rather than like how to make a video. But I'm finding it really interesting. It's a lot of great information. They use an app called Volley app. It's a video messaging app. Did you ever hear of Marco Polo?
Yes.
Where
I've never used it, but I've heard of it.
There's I'm not even going to describe it. It's better than Marco Polo. And I'm kind of interested in us using it for the podcast for Patreon, because it's just like Facebook in a way to where you can create your own threads, your own posts, which right now patrons can't do that. Only we can create posts on Patreon. So it's kind of one-sided in a way.
Right.
I mean, people can send me messages on Patreon, but I think it's a little harder to, it's a barrier to entry pretty much. But I think if we used Volley, all the patrons would have access to it. They can send us videos messages. You can send text to, or you can send voice. Um, but it would just be a better way to have a little bit more reactive community, or proactive community rather than it being just kind of reactive, which is what it is right now. Like I create a post on Patreon, you know, people comment, but again, no one can start a conversation on Patreon. Um, and it's really easy to use. It's really quick. You know, you can have different thread categories like tool tips or general discussion, barbecue stuff, because I know that you're into that. I think it would be cool to try out. And so maybe after this podcast, you can download it and we can just play with it and see if
Yeah,
it's
no, I I definitely like to. I love the idea of it. I was gonna do it on my Patreon. I like created a Vince Woodworking member forum type deal. It just didn't work out. Only a few people signed up. I think we'll probably still have the problem with the podcast Patreon, but the people that want to do it will benefit from it and do it.
yeah.
Um, Using another app outside of another app, it's
It is
again one of those things that some
it
people might be like, I'm not downloading another thing now, but I
it
love the
is.
idea.
But as far as like community involvement, Patreon's kind of crappy
It really
in
is.
that
I agree with
regard.
you.
I mean, I would, you know, you can listen to the podcast early on it. You can, it's just like uh, I just think that we could do more, or just have a better community. And I don't even want to say that it's not a social media app. It's just a video messaging app.
Like
It would just,
Snapchat or something.
yeah, yeah, but it's not as, there's not as many crazy unneeded features. I don't want to say it's bare bones because it isn't. It's just a very simple to use app, and
Is
like
it VOL?
Volley app. Now, I don't think that you can find it in the App Store. Um, yeah, I think you have to go to the actual website volleyapp.com or volley.app or
Oh,
app.volley or something. And you can access it, you can download it there, but it is an app. And what's also great about it is you can do it on your cell phone, you can do it on a laptop, you can do it on a desktop. You can do it from any device, so it doesn't have to be a cell phone.
oh, that's
Um,
cool.
yeah. So it's something to think about. And so if you're listening to this right now and you think that that's something that you would want to try or us to maybe start for the patrons, just send me a DM, um, at Green Searchers Podcast on Instagram. And if there's enough involvement or there's just enough interest, then we'll do it. I mean, and it's free. It doesn't cost anything. So
Yeah, I like that idea. I talked to Steve um, about a program or a website or a page, an app or whatever. It's called Discord, and
yeah,
he
but
uses it for a
yeah,
bunch of others.
that's kind of why I wanted to try it. Now Discord, it's all text based. It's almost like a Reddit kind of.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but I think that with our audience, it may be a little bit too out of touch. Whereas with Volley, it's again, it's very simple to use and you can use it from anywhere. I mean, you could do that with Discord too, but Discord, I've gone into Discord before and it does feel kind of a little too cumbersome. Whereas Volley, it's very streamlined, very fluid. Um, you know, someone can record a post or a thread, and then you can reply to that, and it keeps it all organized, you know, chronologically. So something to think about.
Well, we can definitely talk about it this Friday night.
Oh, absolutely.
I
Um,
totally forgot about that until just now.
but so
This will be
I've
out
been,
after, but
yeah, but I've been diving into that course every day. It's right now it's a 30-day course, so there's something to do every day. There's a task that you have to do every day. Some of it's kind of changing things with your YouTube channel. A lot of it's diving into target audience and stuff like that. It's just it's a really big deep dive. I'm really enjoying it. But
can I ask
so I've
why?
been why what?
Why you're doing it?
Um, I feel like that I need some structure uh, with doing YouTube because I love doing it. I love uh, filming
I
for my
love doing it
motorcycle
too.
channel. Um, and I want to be good at it. Um, and it's just another way for me to learn some strategies for YouTube, not just tactics. It's a little bit a longer tail than that. So It's really
Okay, is
good.
it one of those courses that like you can enter any time in your 30 days start or
Yeah, yeah,
oh okay.
yeah.
Was it
It's not
expensive?
like the 30-day one. I don't think that it was. It wasn't. I'd have to look at it, but I can't remember if it was too expensive. But so I've been doing that, and then I bought a 3D scanner
Is it the
because
one that DIY Dave was talking about?
I don't know who that is.
Oh,
This little guy right here.
yep.
Same one?
Well, maybe it's not. Revo Point, is that the brand?
Yeah. They have
I don't think that's the one he was talking about today.
they have three different models, but because I've been doing a lot of modifications to my motorcycle, and it would make modeling a lot easier if I could just scan certain components. A lot of angles, a lot of odd geometry. So I've been fiddling with that today. Um,
What have you been testing it on?
trust me, it's the scale. It's the scale.
It's to scale. Surprised the cameras work that well. Can zoom in that far.
I got a Vecturo or whatever the cordless version of it is. What's it called? It's not the Vecturo anymore. The multi-tool.
Yeah, Vecturo.
I thought it was like a weird nomenclature now.
Oh, I don't think so.
Anyways, I got one of those today. For those that remember, I had to dismantle my basement a year ago, 2 years ago, something like that.
Oh, the OSC 18.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I thought. And when I took the drywall off of the ceiling, there's every rafter has construction glue still on it. So that had screws and construction glue. And so I'm using the Vectura to clean all that off. So just prepping for renovating the basement once I get the flooding situated.
So you are gonna continue to go down that path. I know on a few
I,
podcasts ago you said different.
I'm I'm not gonna um I can still do some of the things without completely doing everything, but the ceiling needs to get fixed.
Oh, I
Um,
gotcha.
so I mean, I could at least hang some stuff up, and supposed to be getting some contractors to come out and quote me some stuff to seal the outside. So we'll see how that goes. What have you been up to
Hold on. To seal the outside, you mean like,
of the of my basement?
oh, because the other thing didn't work the way you expected?
So what I think is happening, because the French drain works. I mean, every time it rains, I go out, I look at the two drains that I have coming out of it, and water's pouring out of it. So I know that it works. But what I think is happening is that, water obviously takes the path of least resistance. Well, some of the water that is coming off this hill behind my house is going below that, and it's hitting my house, hitting the basement wall. It's going down, and I don't know if it's hitting the wall and then coming under the footer, but it's coming up from the slab. So either my wall needs to be sealed or I need to have some kind of drainage underneath my slab to pull the water away.
Oh,
So I mean, and it's a generally downward slope. It just creeps in through the where the slab hits the footer on the inside. So I don't know if sealing the basement wall would do it, or just
yeah, not if
having.
it's coming from below.
Yeah. And so there's one corner that where some concrete has kind of come away at the joint. And so either tomorrow or next week, I'm going to get some hydrophobic concrete and try to plug it. And then, I mean, essentially, I have to wait until another heavy downpour happens, which, I mean, it's maybe twice a season that it happens. There's a really big downpour, like 2 or 3 days worth,
Right.
to see if that fixes it or addresses it. But I have a radon extractor that's on the opposite side of where that crack is, or where that water seeps through, and I can hear that radon induction fan sopping up the water from underneath the slab. So I know the water creeps down away from the house. Just try to get it done. So
Yeah,
we'll see what the
sucks.
contractors say. Yeah.
Well, what have I been up to? Oh, I mean, really not much. Just trying to get settled into obviously Max being in the house and being having a lot more free time at home during the week. Going to the gym. The big thing that I have done, the two big things. One, I started working on the table finally, and I've got the tabletops glued up. I'm taking them over to my buddy Drew's to run him through his. He has a really, really, really wide drum sander, like 32 or 36 inches, dual drum sander. And so I built this table in a way that would allow me the opportunity to use that. And the glue up went really, really, really well. I have very minimal cleanup. Like a quarter of a millimeter in some spots. It just didn't align perfectly. And then obviously the glue that I, failed to wipe up completely. So I think that'll go pretty quick. And then I'm working with Bidwell Wood and Iron. I contacted them and asked them to build me a base. It's a very simple base. Just a like 1x3 tubular steel, powder coated black, kind of like a square shape almost. Flat bar on top, and I'm going to recess those into the bottom, throw them on some Rampatech. Again, it's a very, very easy table, but we really like the style, and I think it's going to look great. We needed a bigger table. So we're going from like a 66-inch by 36, roughly, maybe 38, to a 90 by 42, roughly. So we'll be able to sit 8 people pretty comfortably. So I'm working on that. Hopefully tomorrow or Friday, I will start designing the built-in area that we're going to do. I don't know if you remember, but when you came over, we were only up for a couple hours, but when you came over, there was this area in the living room that had like some hooks and some coats hanging up in it and some really crappy built-in. It was behind where you were sitting on the couch. You may not remember it, but
no, I don't.
Essentially what it was is somebody took a closet that had bifold doors, pulled the doors off, removed the hardware.
I remember that now. And it
Yeah. And it's like this very like farmhousey, very poorly built.
They didn't even bother like dressing the sides up flush or anything. They just left the door framing in place. Yeah, it looked pretty bad.
So we're debating. Nicole and I are going back and forth on, do I want to open it up and flush up the walls on the side? The only reason I want to do that is because it will give us a little bit more storage. However, I'm thinking about just building a structure into that space and making it look like it's just in the wall, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I'm working on the design for that, trying to figure out what it'll be. I think it'll be pretty cool. There's a product that I actually found at IWF that I will be ordering for that. It's the vertical wall slats you see that's so popular right now. People do like the vertical white oak slats on the wall. This company manufactures veneered MDF, and you can get it in finished walnut or unfinished oak. And they're basically individual strips that you can actually just lock together. It's really, really, really cool. They had a whole display set up. It was really awesome. That was something cool that I walked away with. But probably use that. But the big thing that I had done is the concrete patio, man. Have you seen my stories?
No, I haven't. I knew that it was getting forward, but
okay. So when I went through this, I had 5 estimates done. I'm going to try to give the Cliff Notes version. I had 5 estimates done. 2 were impressive. 3 sucked. And when I mean sucked, I mean the people that came out and did them, they were just not good. So I immediately wrote those guys off. But this one company came out, it was so impressive. I immediately agreed to the build. They did tell me at the time that it would be, probably end of September, mid-October timeframe, that we would get this thing done. It would probably take 3 to 4 days. I get a call last week, like
Holy
on
crap.
Thursday. They're like, "Hey, we'd like to come start your project on Tuesday."
That's
I'm like,
huge.
"Yeah, yeah." So you didn't see the deck because you got here at night. I don't think you saw the back
I saw
patio.
the old picture that you guys had posted, but I'm watching the
Yeah,
story now. Man, that is a huge freaking pad.
yeah. So these dudes showed up on Tuesday morning at 7 o'clock in the morning, and the project manager shows up. I talk to him, walks in the backyard. He's like, "Oh man, I didn't think the deck was that big," which is funny because they had pictures and aerial. But it's hard to see because he doesn't know how big my house is. But it did have measurements of the slab, and they were right over the top of the deck, so you could see how big the deck is. Um, and these guys show up, and they start at like 7:30, 7:45, ripping this deck out, and by 10:30, the entire area was cleared.
Damn.
It was 6 dudes. They just It was just absolutely incredible. They did fantastic work. They were here until about 8 o'clock that night, and concrete was 2 hours delayed. 2 hours, and they still finished in one day.
Wow.
One day. Excuse me. I couldn't believe it. I told the guy, he left for a while. I had to go check on some other jobs. He came back, and I was like, I hope you pay these guys well, because this is the best experience I've ever had with contractors ever. The
Hmm.
dude that was in charge of the crew was amazing. They did one thing, the circular portion. Nicole wanted like it to come a straight line and then go into a circle and then straight into a straight line, not like the curved, because it's
Hmm.
easier because
Yeah,
of the
yeah,
forms.
yeah.
Well, when they did it, they originally did it that way, and they just got done screwing everything into the post. And I ran inside. I was out front. I went inside. Nicole's like, "Are they going to fix that?" And I'm like, "What?" And I looked, and I'm like, "Ooh." I'm like, I actually kind of expected that they would do that because those are, bending forms. They probably don't cut them unless they have to. She's like, "Well, that's not what we designed." And I'm like, "Well, you know what? You're right." And they have the SketchUp. So I went outside. I talked to the guys like, "Hey, man, I hate to do this to you, but that's not how we designed it. We want it to be sharp edges." He was like, "We can do it." 15 minutes, it was done.
Yeah.
They disconnected everything, changed it, 15 minutes, back at it.
Now, are you guys gonna add like a pergola or any kind of an overhead structure, or you're just gonna build a walled barbecue pit area, right?
I am at some point. I'm going to do something for an outdoor kitchen. I have a long time to plan that because I won't even touch that till the spring. But
Yeah.
the circular area is a fire pit. The left side's the seating area and where the dining table is going to go.
Hmm.
We don't know what we're going to do with overhead cover just yet, but we do know that we would like to have something.
Because
Um,
I mean, and I guess unless you like drilled it into the concrete, like the foundation work for it. Because typically, if you're having overhead, you want to have that kind of built into it, right? Into the slab.
yes, and that's something that we talked about. He said, "Do you plan on putting anything on here?" And I said, "Well, we might do a covered area of coming out the door." And he said, like, "Okay, well, when we do this, we can pour your footers if you tell us where you
Hmm.
want them."
Yeah.
And I said, but that's when I told him, like, I don't know. So I don't want you to just pour a bunch of random footers. I have no idea what we're going to do or where we're going to put it.
Yeah.
Um, so he did tell me that, like, if you were to get like one of the, aluminum ones or store-bought ones, something like that, like that's not going to be any issue. But as soon as you start adding like 6x6s and stuff like that, adding a bunch of weight, then it could be an issue. But um, I also assume, and I don't know this, but I also assume that if I wanted to pour footers in that there is a way that they would be able to drill straight through the concrete into the ground and
Hmm.
pour new footers. Um, I don't know that for sure, but I mean, they can do amazing things. I would assume that something like that is possible. So we don't know. That's so far off. Obviously, it would be nice to have the barbecue area covered at least,
Hmm.
um, but we'll see. But, man, I love it. Tomorrow I'm going out there, and we're about to get some really good weather. Like it's going to start cooling off here now,
Yeah.
starting tomorrow.
Yeah. It's already started to cool off here.
it was crazy hot here today. It was like 95, but tomorrow the high is supposed to be 66.
Yeah, it's in the
So
70s, low 70s here.
yeah, after I get back from the gym tomorrow, I'm just going to start getting everything back on the deck, and we'll get to start enjoying it right around the time where good weather comes in. But
You've
yeah,
been doing that
that's about it.
regularly still? Going to the gym every day or whatever your
Yeah,
schedule was?
I didn't go this morning because we got a real late start with Leo, and we've been looking at getting a stand-up freezer. So I actually went and bought a stand-up freezer this morning, so we have more space for
Wait,
meat and
freezer space?
bread. Yeah. What?
Is that why you buy a stand-up freezer for more freezer space?
No, we just like to sit in it
Put the kids
when
in
it's
it.
really, yeah, yeah. When they
Oh,
piss
you
us
don't want to
off,
clean up your room? Get in the ice box.
get in the freezer. But yeah,
No,
we got one. So
Papa.
now I don't want to brag or anything, Ben, but I'm freezer rich. I have 3 freezers
Oh my God.
because I have 3 freezers and 2 refrigerators because the one that was here when we bought the house, we kept, bought a new refrigerator, put the one in the gym, realized refrigerator space isn't the issue. The issue is freezer space because I'm
Yeah.
buying a bunch of meat in bulk now. And we started shopping at Costco and all kinds of other stuff anyways. But I'm like, let's get another freezer. So I'm like, this is ridiculous. We have 3 freezers now. Like 1 standalone and 2 within refrigerators, but no big deal. Can't hide money. You know what I mean? It was like
Well,
400
cool.
bucks.
You ready to get into the
All right.
topic?
Yeah. What are we going to talk about? What Sedge recommended? You just want to do that?
Yeah, I think it's a good one.
Okay. You want me to go first?
Well,
I'll
yeah, I
tell
want you
people
to.
what the topic is.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's do it.
All right. So tonight, Ben, correct me if I'm wrong, but Sedge, in honor of Mr. Sedgley, since he's not here, we're still going to do the topic. He recommended for his week that we would do 3 tools that change the way we work. And it could be, it's not just tools, it's finish. It could be a multitude of things, but something, a product that we are using in our workshop that has changed the way we work. I will go first. For me, my assembly table,
Mm-hmm.
utilizing the MFTs. When I built this, I completely changed the way that I work. Especially when I'm doing cabinetry related stuff, because a crosscut station is really, really good for that. But there's just so many things that I can do on this table, and I can be extremely accurate. And it just changed the way that I process materials. It changed the way that I build things. It changed the way that I hold things down to the surface. For those of you that don't know, I have 3 Festool MFTs connected together on top of a base. There's no legs on the MFT. They just sit connected on top of a kind of like a cabinet structure, some Rockler metal stands that have things, cabinets built into them. But it's probably the biggest thing that I can think of that's changed the way that I work for sure.
So, what was the big benefit that you got from using it versus not having that before?
Oh my God. Work holding options, the ability to have a longer fence. I turned the MFTs the opposite direction from what they're normally designed or what they're sold and marketed as. They're more wide than deep, and so because I turn them, it gives me a lot larger crosscut capacity. Upgrading and getting the dashboard hinge system, giving me the ability to use longer tracks. The fact that it's an MFT top and I'm able to, cut right into it if I need to. I really don't do that. I don't know if I already said the work holding capabilities. It's got all the bench dog holes. Being able to incorporate the Vaxis into the end of the table, another huge benefit. The vertical clamping abilities on the side. I mean, the ability to store things underneath it because there is that elevation. It's just totally changed the way that that I process materials and how I can do things. So there's not just one thing. I mean, there's a lot of things that have really made a huge difference. And I will get a lot of people like, well, why didn't you, that's a really expensive top. Like, why didn't you just make your own? It's like, well, because I didn't want to make my own, right? And if I would have made my own, I don't have the same luxuries that I have with the aluminum extrusion sides. And then they say, well, why don't you just buy aluminum extrusion? Well, then you're talking about spending a whole bunch of money on aluminum extrusion and taking the time to cut out the tops, and the tops never come out as good of tolerances as the ones that you can just buy from Festool, right?
Hmm.
Which, oh, by the way, I've had this for how many years now? 2 years. I'm still on the original side.
Yeah.
So it's like,
I've never changed the sides on mine.
no. And I could flip these. You know what I mean? Like,
Unless you're just like a crazy animal, you just like slap the material down and like wherever it lies, that's where you cut it. You know,
yeah.
where you see
Some
it's
people
like
do
some.
that. Yeah.
I know you see it on YouTube. You're like, how do you have that many cut lines in different places?
Yeah.
You know,
Which, I mean, it's kind of what
it's
it's designed
madness.
to do. But
Well, yeah,
yeah, I'm like, why would you do
but
that?
but not, it's literally in every single direction. There's cut lines. It's like, why didn't you
Like a
use that? Was
contractor, I get it. You know, like on the job, like real quick, just making cuts back and forth. Yeah, I have to
yeah,
cut the same thing 700 times. And I'm just trying to get rough cuts real fast. I totally get it. Like, but me, I have one cut line. Well, I take that back. I have two because I originally had my fence in a different area, but and my rail. But yeah, now I just cut it in the same place. When I'm breaking down sheet goods, I plop a piece of that purple insulation panel
hmm
on here, and I just cut into that. That has lines all over it.
yeah.
What about you? What's your first thing?
Mine is a 3D printer. There's so many different applications that you can have for a 3D printer, whether they're functional parts, aesthetic parts, conceptual parts. I always felt very limited by most dimensioning tools that I had, and it wasn't until I got a 3D printer coupled with CAD that I felt that I could really create the things that I wanted to make. Um, and I was going to say the shaper too, which it has, but I think you can kind of throw that up to any CNC type device. But
Mm.
no, having the 3D printer for me, it just kind of opened up my creative possibilities in my shop. So, instead of being relegated to things that exist, maybe they don't have the functionality that you're looking for, all of it. Whereas if you have a very specific need and you have a very specific idea of how that problem can be solved, you can literally create a solution that does not exist. And the great thing is that you can play with it in CAD as much as you want until you nail down the design right. And then when you print it, in most cases, unless you intentionally prototype, but in most cases you can print it out and it's ready to go.
Yeah.
Unless you made some kind of a calculation error. But yeah, I mean, there's so many different things around the house and in the wood shop and for my motorcycle that it's like, oh, I wonder if I can do this. And I get in CAD, I whip something up real quick and print it out overnight. And then I go down, I test it, like, oh wow, this worked. Um, I mean, I've done it. I think I talked about it episodes ago, but I made a skid plate for my motorcycle. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I printed it out first, and once I knew that I had all the measurements and everything correct, I sent that digital file to a website. I think it's called Send Cut Send, and
Yeah.
they can cut it for me. They can bend it, all this other stuff for me. So it's like, well, that was easy. So
Have you gotten that back yet? Just out of curiosity.
I haven't sent it yet. I was waiting to get
Oh,
this 3D. I was waiting to get this 3D scanner because there's a front part that I need to still make for it. And I wasn't confident that it's just because of how many weird angles there are on the bottom of the motorcycle. It's just kind of hard. I tried doing cardboard cutouts and templating and stuff, and I just could never get the form factor right. So I was like, well, I'm gonna wait until I get this 3D scanner. That way, I can design something that will 100% will fit, and then I'll order it. So they already have the file for the main piece, and I just want to make sure that I have my anchor points correct to how to attach this other piece. So
Yeah, because you don't want to do that twice because they're
No,
not going to be like,
and
oh, you
it's
screwed up, not a problem. We'll do another one for free.
no, yeah, there is none of that. It's like, well, this is the design you sent us, so
Yeah.
um, but yeah. All right, what about you? What's your second item?
Second item is gonna be, I'm gonna say the apron or the sedgley, one of the two, some sort of tool holding uh thing that you wear. So um a shop apron, or since the sedgley has come out, the sedgley, that's definitely changed the way that I work because one, I'm not always looking for that last thing that I used and set down somewhere. Um, but it's nice to have the most used thing that's like readily available on you. So I have a custom, me and Ben both. Ben has my old one, um, but the Leather by Dragonfly custom apron. And for me personally, I tend to wear the apron in the summertime, which this is really strange. It's like the opposite way of most people would do it. I tend to wear the sedgley in the winter, and I tend to wear the apron in the summer. Now I have a climate controlled space, but the reasoning for that is because I'm typically always wearing shorts
Hmm.
um, in the summertime, and I always wear jeans in the wintertime. So I have a belt and
Yeah,
stuff stays up easier. Um,
and you can't wear your shop flops in the winter.
correct. Yeah. Well, I mean, I could because I keep my shop nice and warm, but yeah, I it definitely changed the way that I did things. Like I feel like I did things in a very unorganized manner, and I would get very frustrated because I didn't know where I put my pencil down, where I put my tape measure down. Everybody can relate to that too. It did take a while to get used to it, um, but it was once you get used to it, it's just like a no-brainer. And so the issue that I end up having now is I'll wear my apron and I already know it's about to happen. Now that it's going to start getting cooler outside and I'm going to be, wearing jeans and stuff, I'm going to be wearing that sedgley a lot more. And I'm going to be reaching on my chest for my pencil or for this. And it's going to take me a few days to get back in that rhythm of no, it's
Yeah,
down here on my right hip.
yeah,
Um, but that's really the only struggle that I've had. I'd be happy wearing either one all the time. If I had to pick just one, I'd probably pick the apron just because it's more uh, there's more functionality to the apron. You can obviously hold quite a bit more, and there's benefits like it keeps stuff off of you.
yeah.
It
A
provides
little
an
bit of
extra layer of protection.
protection. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's what I was gonna go for.
So, but yeah, definitely, definitely changed the way that I do things
Yeah, I think an
in
apron
in the
is
shop.
is a. I think an apron is a must for anyone, even metal workers, woodworkers. If you're using your hands a lot and you're getting dirty, definitely get an apron.
Yeah.
Uh, my second one, and I'm pretty sure that I've already said this before in previous episodes, but good lighting. That
Hmm,
is,
that's a good one.
you really don't know how much of a difference it makes until you get an actually good lighting setup. In the past, I had, I think it was either four or six like not fluorescent. I mean, they were the smart bulbs, but not a very bright light. And I was trying to shoot YouTube videos down there,
Hmm.
you know, do woodworking at night. That's typically when I would kind of piddle around with stuff because my kids were either asleep or at school or at their moms or whatever. But yeah, man. As soon as I installed the lights that I have now, I was like, holy crap! It's like you don't realize. You think to yourself, how could I have worked without these before? There were so
Yep.
many times where I would be working on a project and like I would have to like bring my face up to the material to see where my pencil mark was. Like that's how bad it was.
Yeah.
But as soon as I got those lights installed, I was like,
I
oh
remember your
man.
old videos. It was like watching somebody that was like trapped in a dungeon. I thought you were trying to be all like cinematic
No, I
for
just
the
had
video
bad lighting.
reasons.
I just had
Like,
really
nope,
crappy
that's
lighting.
just my lights. I will never
Oh.
forget the first time that I walked into uh, J Bait's shop because I think that was the first time I ever saw American Green Lights in person. And I remember walking in and immediately going, huh. They're like, it almost didn't look real. It like looked completely unnatural. Um, because you just weren't used to it. The closest thing I can um, equate that to is like if you grew up with like a 60 hertz television, and then now all these new TVs came out and they bumped up to 120 hertz and 240 hertz, and you watch one of those TVs and you're like, why does it look like I'm looking out a window right now?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just awkward. Like it doesn't seem real. And that's how I felt when I saw American Green Lights. So it's a just high CRI, you know, LEDs, period. It doesn't, I just have experience with American Green Lights, but it's definitely more vivid colors. Just everything is easy to see. It's great. That was a really good example. All right, my third one. I was gonna say track saw, but I've talked about that before. It definitely has changed the way that I do things, but I want to do something else. I'm going to say the joiner planer combo machine. The reason for that is because it did change the way that I mill lumber. So before, what I would do is I would joint a face, then plane everything, and then joint an edge, because in a situation like that, it doesn't make any difference what direction the grain's running if you start to join, in one direction or what edge. You have more flexibility to flip the board around and have a flat surface on both sides against the fence, which is important to get a 90-degree edge, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're going against the grain, this doesn't really matter as much, to be honest with you, on a helical head or a spiral cutter head or any variation of that. But it did make it nice, because then I always had a flat reference face, regardless. If I had to flip the board around, if you don't do that, you only have one way that you can do it, or you have to joint the other edge, which you may not want to do. The way that this changed for me is because it's a joiner planer combo and you have to switch between. Well, clearly, if I wanted to do that, I would have to join a face, then switch it over to planer mode, run it through the planer, then go back and put it on the jointing mode, and then joint an edge and follow the same steps. So that did kind of change the way that I mill lumber, but I haven't found it to be an issue at all. The only time it's ever kind of a pain in the butt is when, I didn't mill up enough lumber and I'm short and I have to go through the entire process again. But guess what that taught me? Mill extra lumber.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I did that with this tabletop that I'm doing right now. I milled 2 extra boards. Just because I wanted to have the best to choose from. And in the event that one didn't work out the way I wanted it to, I had other boards. So I milled everything at the same time. And now I just use it later, if I have a project coming up. So that was a change for me. But I like it. I like the space savings. I like the fact that I don't have 2 big machines in the shop now. If I had a ton of space, obviously it'd still be great to have 2 separate machines and never have to worry about the changeover. But it takes more time for me to change to a dado stack on my table saw than it does for me to change my machine over. Mm-hmm. And when I tell people that, because they're always like, "Oh, it looks like it takes a long time," or "You sped that up," or whatever. When I tell them that, they're like, because just about everybody can relate to that. They're like, "Oh, really?"
Yeah.
And then they're like, "Well, that's why I don't ever put in a dado stack." It's like, okay.
Everybody in Europe's like, "What's a dado?"
Yeah, dado.
Just joking.
Gary's probably like,
"Oh, what's that?"
A dado stack. Oh, he's in my fantasy football league, and it's his first time playing fantasy football, so he's always very confused.
He knows it's not soccer, right?
Yeah, American football, Gary, America. He's very confused about all this stuff, which I don't blame him. I mean, I was too the first time I played, but it's pretty funny. He's won his first 2 games though, bastard. Cool. Always the rookies. What about you? What's your third one, Ben?
My third one is dust extraction.
Oh, good one.
I was, when Sedge gave this question, like I was sitting there thinking, I'm like, wait a minute, this is so hard. But I cannot tell you the last time I had to clean dust off my washer and dryer, which are literally right next to my assembly table. I mean, not literally, they're like 5 feet away. But before I got dust extraction, man, there was just dust everywhere in my basement, all over the place. It was just perpetually covered in dust. Now the floor still gets dusty from time to time, but by and large, and I have a little shop bot that I just press a button and it vacuums the floor for me. Um, but you really don't realize how much of a difference it makes in a shop. And I didn't want to cop out and say a second dust extractor, but once I got the smaller, not the CT6, but I think I got the CT15 or maybe the MIDI for my miter station. Once I had a dedicated dust extractor for the miter station, that's when I was really glad that I had dust extraction, at least multiple ones, because that was less moving the whole thing around, and I've got to unplug this, plug that in. And not that that's like detrimental to woodworking, but it's when you have to have more steps than what you really want to, it really does take away the experience of trying to make things. So now I have the CT15 underneath my miter saw. It doesn't move. It's always plugged in. As soon as I press, engage the capex, dust extraction turns on. And then the same thing for the CT26 at my assembly table. It rarely moves from the spot that it's at, just because the hose is long enough to reach all of my other surfaces around it, all of my work areas. So having really good dust extraction and not having to move things around, and still maintaining a clean working area. You really don't realize how much stuff is getting thrown in the air when you don't have dust extraction. I've watched a lot of Instagram posts recently where people are like sanding and just doing all kinds of stuff, and there's no dust extraction. And you leave a comment like, "Hey, man, it's a really cool project, but I'm pretty sure that your lungs are going to hate you in about 20 years." And they're like, "What?"
Yeah.
God, man. But yeah, good
When
dust
I when
extraction.
I when I first started, as soon as you said that, I immediately went back to when I first started. When I first started, I remember I got a planer and a jointer finally, lunchbox planer and a joiner. I had no dust collection, nothing. I didn't even know that that was like a thing. And I remember
Yeah,
I
you
would
just
know
shoot
that
it.
I
You just
needed,
shoot it out in the street.
yeah, I would know that I need to unclog my jointer when it started shooting chips back at me. Um, and then, so I'd have to turn off the machine, reach my hand up in there, get the dust, the debris and the chips and everything out, and it would be this huge pile. And the planer just went open like straight out the back until I had a huge pile, and I would always have to stop my project to sweep everything up, and then I'd go back to doing what I was doing. I have to do that like 3 times milling lumber. It was
Yeah,
crazy. And then I got a dust collector, and I was like, wait, what?
yeah, yeah. Just health
Cool.
reasons alone, it's worth its weight in gold.
Yeah.
Any
Well,
honorable mentions that you have?
no, unfortunately, I'm gonna actually have to wrap this up because my son is not being super cooperative right now. So
Well,
it's a
he's a
little bit
vet,
different now
so
with 2 kids. Yeah, well, he hasn't slept all day, and now he's not going to bed, which I'm kind of surprised. So I'm gonna have to go up there and sit with
put
him
him
for a
in
while. And
put him in the freezer.
yep, I'm gonna put him in the freezer. That's what I meant. Sit with him for a while. So I'm
Stop
not
being
even
on the
gonna go
door,
through.
buddy.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna go through and see if I have any hateful comments for the evening.
Okay. Well, alrighty. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to the podcast. If you want to find out more about each of us, you can check it out in the show notes. If you want to enter the mystery giveaway, I'm sure by the time this podcast airs, it will know what it is. But as we're recording,
Or
we
we
have no
won't.
idea. We have no idea what it is.
Yeah.
If you want to enter the chance for the magical giveaway, go to greensuiterspodcast.com, go to the giveaway tab, enter your information, and you may be the lucky winner.
Yay.
Until next time, I bid you adieu.
Adieu.
Adieu.